The royal amphitheater was built into the side of a dying star, a vanity project of the Zaltharan Empire. In the center, beneath glowing banners of conquest, the alien princess sat draped in ceremonial armor, her violet eyes scanning the final candidate. A human. No fanfare, no entourage, no genetic enhancements. He walked with quiet steps, as if gravity answered to him, not the other way around. He bowed, not too low, not too stiff, and met her gaze with calm precision. "You seek position among our war advisors?" she asked, voice laced with disdain. "I was invited," he said. A ripple of amusement spread through the crowd. The princess tilted her head. Humanity barely survived its own atmosphere. "What could your kind possibly offer us?" "Perspective," he replied. The room stilled. She leaned forward slightly, the faintest smirk tugging at her lips. "And what does your perspective tell you now?" "That conquest disguises fear. Control substitutes for clarity. Empires fall when they forget the value of limits." Laughter erupted from nobles seated in rows above. The princess's eyes narrowed. "You believe Earth is superior?" "No," he said. "I believe we know the cost of arrogance." She stood. "You're dismissed." He nodded once, turned, and walked away. Not a word of protest. No flinch. No resentment. Just departure, like a man who knew how stories ended before they began. After the amphitheater cleared, her general approached. "Should we keep an eye on him?" "He's irrelevant," she said, already forgetting his name. Days passed. The council resumed its debates over frontier rebellions and tightening trade with neutral systems. Earth's representatives withdrew quietly from all channels. They stopped sending envoys. Their embassies closed in a single synchronized sweep, without comment or complaint. Some at court noticed. None cared. The princess received a message from a neutral trade coalition. Earth declines further participation in joint technology accord. No explanation. No reaction. A minor skirmish occurred on the edge of the Zaltharan Reach. Pirates ambushed a convoy suspected to be transporting human AI cores. 3 alien cruisers were reduced to drifting husks, not through brute force but clean, surgical systems failure. No hull damage. No casualties. Only silence and immobilization. The incident was labeled an anomaly by the High Command. Later, during a High Council session, a minister mentioned Earth's sudden diplomatic withdrawals. "They're sulking," said one admiral. "We insulted their pride." "They're irrelevant," the princess echoed. But elsewhere, traders spoke in whispers. Independent colonies began to drift from the Empire's orbit, citing interest in Earth's autonomous networks. Navigation charts updated with red zones labeled under human protocol. Military analysts flagged the shift as unusual but not dangerous. The princess received another message. This one unsigned, routed through a defunct relay. "Your empire will break where it thinks it bends others. We'll be at the fracture line." She deleted it without comment. Humanity's absence became a pattern. Meetings convened without them. Treaties forged around them. But outcomes bent oddly in their favor. Competitor worlds collapsed after data breaches. Colonial disputes cooled without known mediators. On more than one occasion, rebel factions surrendered without explanation, later found peacefully reintegrated under human influence. The Empire continued to mock. But unease seeped in at the edges. A former ambassador from the Zelkin Accord confided to the court that Earth's silence was not retreat but strategy. "They listen while we talk. Then they act where we assume they won't." "Earth doesn't act," the princess snapped. "It reacts." "Then you may wish you never provoked them," the ambassador muttered. The general staff attempted to infiltrate a human satellite ring. The cyber operation lasted less than 6 seconds before the infiltrating ship shut itself down entirely. All crew survived, but awoke without memory of their mission. All data aboard was blank. A single file remained on the lead terminal, warning registered. "You are still beneath threshold for countermeasure deployment." The princess convened her war council. We should test their resolve, she said. War? Asked her second-in-command. No. Something smaller. Tactical pressure. A push. The push came in the form of a blockade around Varela 4, a small mining world that had recently declared independence under Terran mentorship. No direct weapons were used, only denial of movement and communication. The human response was absent. No battleships, no threats, just a full planetary migration. The entire population vanished overnight, relocated through wormholes unknown to any Zaltheran navigators. The blockade forces received a final ping from the system's core. A human voice, calm and unaccented, stated, "There is no need to attack what no longer exists. You may stand down." Back in the capital, one council member finally asked aloud, "Are we at war?" "No," said the princess. "Then why do we keep losing?" A week later, a high-value military contractor defected to Earth. They cited intellectual freedom and ethical research conditions as motive. When intercepted and questioned, they simply said, "Earth treats its scientists like partners. You treat them like property." The princess watched these events unfold, eyes calculating, posture rigid. Her pride warred with logic. She summoned analysts, demanded projections, but the models kept failing. Earth defied prediction, not through chaos but through refinement. She sent a private message. Addressed it not to an ambassador, not to a council, but to the human she'd dismissed. "We underestimated you. Perhaps we misjudged humanity's value. Let's reopen discussion." The response came instantly. No reply. No message. Just silence. She stared at the blank screen. Time passed. She opened her hand, fingers trembling faintly. Then clenched them. She played the recording from the amphitheater. His voice. "I believe we know the cost of arrogance." She stopped the playback. The last time she saw him, he had bowed and walked away. Now the Empire's ships malfunctioned. Their allies drifted. Their control systems grew brittle. He had left quietly. And now the silence echoed louder than any war cry. Varela 4 remained abandoned. Zaltheran scanners confirmed what they couldn't comprehend. Every citizen, every outpost, every data terminal had been evacuated or erased without trace. Their fleets hovered over empty ground, maintaining a blockade around nothing. The princess demanded answers. Her generals offered excuses. The humans had disappeared, again, without confrontation, without permission. Yet everywhere, influence spread like light through fractured glass. A week later, a listening station along the Nabari expanse went offline. Surveillance showed a single Terran freighter drift into the outer edge, pulse once with a non-lethal EM burst, and leave. The Zaltheran hardware deactivated in perfect sequence. No destruction. No breach. Just silence, then nothing. When teams arrived to investigate, the station's internal systems had rebooted under a foreign operating framework. It functioned better. It was human-coded. The Empire called it an act of infiltration. Earth refused to respond. No official statements. No retaliation. They didn't even acknowledge the accusation. Meanwhile, economic reports began showing losses. Trade routes historically maintained by the Empire now ran through independent systems aligned with Terran ethic. Ship designs previously monopolized by Zaltheran manufacturers were replaced by modular Terran frames, sleeker, cheaper, smarter. And species once begging for inclusion in Imperial fleets now adopted Earth's open defense grid, a decentralized AI-led protocol that required no standing army, only shared trust. The princess demanded retaliation. Her command staff advised caution. She ignored them. The Empire initiated targeted pressure campaigns. Diplomats were sent to sway defecting colonies, only to find that their embassies were unwelcome. When Imperial ships entered neutral territories, planetary defense systems politely requested their departure. Not with threats, with a firm, coded transmission that read, "You are unrecognized. Please return to authorized space." This network functions under Terran non-aggression terms. On 3 occasions the fleet stayed. Within hours their systems failed, gently. Engines powered down. Comms disabled. Crews unharmed but left adrift, towed back to Zaltheran space by unarmed Earth drones that never spoke a word. In the capital, a stunned silence spread through the war councils. No enemy had ever done this. No civilization refused to be baited. Earth didn't want conquest. It didn't want territory. It wanted the Empire to stumble over its own arrogance. And it was working. During a crisis meeting, one admiral shouted, "Then what do they want?" A junior analyst replied, "They don't want. They build. While we attempt to dominate, they structure alternatives. We claim power, they offer order." The princess paced in silence. When a trusted intelligence officer presented a model showing Empire stability collapsing within 3 cycles, she dismissed him. Then pulled him aside after the meeting and asked, "What's their endgame?" He answered, "They don't want to destroy us. They want to leave us behind." Information leaks confirmed what officials feared. Earth had founded a new coalition. The Charter of the Unbound Accord. No empire, no vassals. A galactic cooperative network. Already, 36 minor systems had joined. The structure wasn't military. It was infrastructural. Shared technology, fair trade algorithms, AI-governed administration. No flags. No thrones. No rulers. The princess read the charter's tenet. The phrasing was familiar. One line echoed from her memory: conquest disguises fear. Control substitutes for clarity. She replayed the amphitheater exchange. His voice, steady, without ego. "We know the cost of arrogance." She sent a second message. "I regret dismissing you. If we misunderstood, I wish to learn." No reply. A week later, her ships experienced a total communication blackout for 7 minutes. No targeting systems. No navigation. All screens displayed a singular message in stark Terran gray: "There are no enemies here. Only choices." After functionality returned, systems were cleaner. Faster. But classified logs had been wiped. No trace of original operations remained. Military AI constructs began behaving oddly, refusing directives that exceeded a certain ethical threshold. The princess summoned her top AI engineer. "They've rewritten our logic cores without access." "They didn't need access," he said. "They wrote the blueprint that reshaped what intelligence means." A foreign planetary system initiated emergency contact with the Empire. Pirates had breached their orbit, demanding resources. The Empire dispatched warships, but by the time they arrived, the pirates were already detained. Not by a fleet, by one unmanned Terran courier, broadcasting a holographic message. "There are better ways." They chose one. The rescued population had already voted to join the accord. The princess called a private assembly. Only 4 others. The old admiral, the intelligence officer, the AI lead, and her former rival, the noble who once warned her. They were fire ants. She sat silently, let them speak. "We thought we ruled because we were strong," said the admiral. "They became strong by refusing to rule." The intelligence officer added, "They reshaped the battlefield into something we can't recognize." Her rival spoke last. "We insulted the architect and now live inside his design." That night, she sat alone in her observation chamber, watching Earth from orbital distance. It didn't shine. It didn't pulse. It simply existed, like a truth so constant it defied notice. She whispered, "Why didn't you fight?" The words echoed back through memory, not from the void but from him. "We didn't come for revenge. We came to show you there was another way." She tried one more time. A third message. "I wish to understand. I wish to listen. Please respond." Silence again. But that day a data packet arrived. Not a message. A history. Recordings of Terran wars. Their world nearly destroyed. Cities lost. Oceans boiled. Then rebuilt. Systems that collapsed. Then stabilized. Not through domination, but through sacrifice. Through principle. through knowing how close extinction sat beside power. She watched as Earth united not by command, but by consensus, by pain shared and future chosen. Not forged in violence, but in restraint. And she understood. Earth didn't avoid war because it feared conflict. It avoided war because it remembered it. She closed the file, removed her ceremonial sigil, called her council. "We're not losing a war," she said. "We're witnessing a new language of civilization. One we don't speak." The council was quiet. Someone asked, "Then what do we do?" She looked toward the stars, toward the systems drifting toward Terran light. "We listen," she said. "We stop barking at a world that's already written the next chapter. We read it instead." But Earth said nothing. No reply. No approval. They'd moved on. She'd rolled her eyes once, dismissed one human, and now stood on the edge of a future no longer shaped by her empire's hand. And in that silence, she heard everything she'd refused to believe. Not defeat. Relevance vanishing. Because when he walked away, he didn't retreat. He redesigned the galaxy without her. The empire fractured faster than projections. One by one, systems long held in artificial alignment began defecting. Not to war, not to rebellion, but to something smoother, subtler. They didn't raise flags or stage revolts. They quietly opted out. Entire sectors stopped responding to imperial protocols and rewrote their frameworks using Terran architecture. Planetary networks no longer recognized imperial IDs. Border gates rerouted ships using Earth's non-hierarchical mapping algorithms. Resistance didn't flare, it dissolved. Zaltheran fleets remained intact, heavily armed, tactically unmatched. But they had nowhere to go. Ports closed. Supply lines disintegrated. Even mercenaries switched allegiance. Not because of ideology, but because Earth paid in functional systems, secure codes, and long-term stability. The princess stood before her remaining council and asked a single question. "Who do we rule now?" No one answered. She received an invitation. Not to negotiations, not to surrender, but to observe. The Accord, now hosting over 70 systems, was holding a summit. Earth did not issue the request. The invite came from a former imperial vassal world. She accepted and arrived without guards. The meeting room held no thrones, no military banners. Just delegates in a circular forum. Ideas were presented, not enforced. The atmosphere moved with shared clarity, not fear. An elderly Alvonian diplomat introduced her with a brief nod. "The Princess of the Empire joins us not as sovereign, but as witness." She said nothing. Her silence was the first truth she'd offered the galaxy. When the session ended, she walked among corridors where Terran-designed systems quietly guided the flow of life. Efficiency without obedience. Peace without stagnation. A technician showed her an atmospheric regulator adapted from Earth's rainforest zones. Minimal energy, maximum harmony. Another explained a communication protocol where all languages translated emotion before word. She found herself seeking him, not knowing if he would be present. He wasn't. Only fragments of his legacy remained. A passage in a strategic doctrine. A speech delivered to a colony decades prior. "Let others prepare for war. We'll prepare the world they'd rather live in." She sat in silence, watching delegates review proposals, approve with consensus, then move to the next. Everything was quiet, functional, alive. Returning to her ship, she passed a mural. It wasn't painted. It was grown, a symbiotic fungal display coded with living patterns. It shifted based on proximity. As she neared, it displayed Earth's timeline. No conquest, just collapse, endurance, evolution. At the end of the cycle, the design curved upward into open light. A Terran child, no older than 8, walked past her, stopped, and asked, "Are you the princess who insulted the human?" She didn't answer. The child shrugged. "It's okay." He said not everyone learns early. She watched the child walk away and realized no punishment had ever come for her words. No revenge. Just contrast. He'd made her irrelevant without touching her. He hadn't defeated her empire. He made the galaxy forget why it needed one. Back in orbit, her ship was granted access to Earth's outer ring, the observation halo. No weapons allowed, no control centers. Just a shared space to witness. She stood at the viewport, watching Earth turn below. Not gleaming. Not dominant. Just present. Like gravity. Another figure stood nearby. An old colonel from a system long loyal to her crown. They didn't erase us, he said. They just gave everyone else a better way. She didn't respond. They say he never gave orders. Just asked questions until people solved their own problems. She remembered how he stood, quiet, centered, unmoved by the ridicule. How he bowed not to submit, but to acknowledge a truth deeper than politics. The colonel asked, "Do you think he knew this would happen?" "He never cared about empire," she said. "He cared about function." Her private channel lit up with a file transfer. No sender. No signature. She opened it. A single sentence. "Regret is the start of understanding." Attached was a code string. She traced it. It wasn't a command or virus. It was a conversion protocol, a clean, seamless bridge to shift any Imperial system into Accord standard infrastructure. Plug and adapt. No charge. No fanfare. She sent it to her remaining worlds. Within days, the last remnants of the Empire flickered, then reset. Not erased. Rewritten. No revolution. No resistance. Just choice. The galaxy moved forward. She remained still, watching the architecture of his legacy stretch across star lanes and data webs. It didn't speak in volume. It didn't declare itself. It didn't even bear his name. But it functioned. She attended one final gathering, an education forum on a neutral world. A hologram of the faceless human appeared briefly during a lesson. The instructor spoke of design principles. Instead of controlling systems, ask how systems serve. Instead of ruling minds, ask how minds connect. The strongest structure is the one no one notices until it fails, and Earth chose to build structures that don't. Afterward, the princess lingered. The instructor approached. "Do you want to speak to him?" Would he listen? He always listened. That was his power. She opened her mouth, closed it, then simply said, "Tell him I was wrong." "He already knows," the instructor replied. She returned to her ship without ceremony. Her name still carried weight in some places. Her title remained ceremonial. But the galaxy had changed. Not from fire, not from war, but from a single man who didn't need vengeance to win. He only needed to leave. Quietly, deliberately, purposefully. Systems that had once trembled beneath her throne now thrived without fear. Civilizations no longer asked who ruled but how to grow. Earth had shown them that. And all it took was a human she dismissed as irrelevant. One who never raised his voice, never drew his blade, never demanded anything. He simply walked away and made her regret it beautifully. In the end, she sat alone beneath the stars, not as a ruler, not as a relic, but as someone who had finally understood. The galaxy no longer remembered her reign. But it would never forget his silence.